All right, hello everyone. Are we good? Charlotte, you tell me when I'm good to go. I will wait.
Sorry.
Thumbs up. Hello everyone, I'm Molly Fitzpatrick-Keene. I'm the Assistant Town Administrator and Director of Human Resources for the Town of Westwood. I have the pleasure of being the FinCom Administrative Assistant today as we recruit for Victoria Wong's replacement. So I'm going to start by calling the roll in one moment. Okay. Bill Bruce.
Here.
John Kerry had told me he was going to be absent. Suzanne Flanagan.
Here.
Seth Fredrickson.
Here.
Michael Gay.
Here.
George Hertz.
Here.
Caitlin Jerzak. Here. George Lahan.
Here.
Christopher Marks.
He's on his way. He'll be here in a minute.
Okay, I'll give him a pause. George Maroon.
Here.
Christina, please help me with your last name. Hedioj, okay. Chris Pareda.
Here.
Mike Powers.
Here.
And Ryan Sturma.
Yep.
Excellent. So,
I think you left me out.
did I?
Yeah.
So,
you did.
Alex Yale got cut off. Sorry, my dude. Alex Yale, also
Page two.
here. Page, flip it over, page 2. You're noted as here. So, per the charter, the FinCom secretary, today, me, is responsible for hosting the reorganization meeting within 35 or 45, don't quote me on the charter, days of annual meeting. And so that's what we're here for today. The point of doing that is just to create a level playing field. I'm not running for FinCom chair. I'm not eligible to be FinCom chair. So I'm going to be here to facilitate the conversation, to take the minutes, to take the votes. So that's what my role is here. The first item on the agenda is an update from the moderator, so I will turn it over to him.
Pledge allegiance or not at this meeting?
I don't have a flag, so I didn't put it
Here we
on
go.
the agenda.
Okay, just making sure.
Sorry, I didn't bring my flag.
Yeah. No,
I actually,
no,
ironically, have an handkerchief with a flag on it, but we're gonna skip that.
That's fine.
Well, thank you all for serving. This is a tough job. I've never done it. I don't know if I could do it. I couldn't stay up till 10 o'clock at night listening to people who love to hear themselves talk. I get up early. Yes.
Our last meeting ended at 12:30.
I know it. Most of you have been through the organizational meeting already. We have 3 new members who haven't. Christopher Marks,
Yes.
Susan Flanagan, and Ryan Sturma. You all know Chris. Susan is Peter Cahill's wife, but more importantly, she was on the audit committee. And I plucked her from the audit committee, so Stephanie's not speaking with me right now.
No.
And Ryan is new. He's fairly new to town, works at Deloitte.
That's right. Yeah, I've been here 5 years on Smith Drive.
I have a couple things for you. This I came across within the past year. I found it helpful. Maybe you know all this stuff, but it was put together by a state rep from Sunderland, Natalie Blaze, and it's a primer on home rule petitions. And town government is created by the legislature, so the town of Westwood, all towns are allowed to operate as a town by act of the legislature. And if you want to change the charter, or if the town does, you have to get permission of the state legislature. So that just kind of explains it a little bit. I went on the town website to try to find the provisions about the FinCom in the charter, and it's difficult to navigate, but I found them, so I'm going to pass them out. And I'm going to just kind of highlight a couple of sections. So this is called Chapter 30 of the Code of Westwood, or the Charter of Westwood, but it's also called Article 7 of the Westwood Bylaws. And I pulled this off the website. The responsibility of FinCom is listed in Section 36 and Section 37. So 6 says it'll be the duty of FinCom to study the financial and other affairs of the town, and to advise with all officers of the town as to expenditures and recommendations for appropriations made by them. And then if you go to 7, you also consider all articles in the warrants for every town meeting, and you're to report in writing to town meeting. So those are your primary responsibilities. The rest of them are in here. Usually, my managerial style is to appoint good people and stay the heck out of your way, let you do your job. There seems to have been a little bit of tension between FinCom and the Select Board this past year. And it was brought to my attention, and I was told you were overstepping your bounds. I was told to watch a couple of meetings of FinCom, particularly the March 12th meeting and the March 26th meeting, and I did that. And frankly, I thought you did a great job. I thought you were well prepared, asked good questions. There were a couple of things maybe that you overstepped your bounds on, and they were in the reports of your report. Is there enough of all of these to go around? So I just circled 3 sections on 3 different articles. So it would be Article 1, Article 2, and I forget the third, I think it might have been Article 7. And it says, FinCom voted unanimously to transfer on each of those. And it's really not FinCom's job to transfer, it's the Select Board. So the budget comes from the Select Board, they create it. They get it from the town administrator, you review it, and ultimately the budget is town meeting's budget. So you would recommend either it be approved or not approved, but you really don't have the authority to appropriate money, except if you go back and take a look at Chapter 30. I want to point out some language. It's at the end of Section 6, it's the last sentence. It says, transfers from any sum appropriated by the town as a reserve fund shall be made by this commission as authorized by law. Now, I don't know what that means. I'm not a municipal lawyer. But I know there was a little discussion about the reserve fund at one of the meetings. Just keep that in mind. I've never told you who to elect, but I think because of the friction between the Select Board and FinCom, I've asked a couple of leaders not to put their names in for chair, and they've agreed. But we have a good Select Board chair coming in this year. He's gonna try to mend fences. I'd like to see this committee and the Select Board and the town administration working together. Other than that, I don't have anything to say, and I'll turn the meeting back over to Wally. It's her meeting.
Can I ask a question? Do you feel, or somebody feels as if these were more than just sort of clerical errors and actually an overreach by the commission? Because these read to me like they were probably copied from a prior year, and I mean, they're.
No, I don't think you were saying you were appropriating it. It just, it sounds like you were.
Should it have read vote to recommend to
Yes.
transfer?
Yeah,
okay.
that's all,
Yeah,
that's all.
approve
It
it.
says so in the sentence ahead of time, right? Right before it.
I'm sorry, Christina?
Recommends the town.
Recommends that the town set a vote on.
Yeah. So that's all. That,
Yeah, we could be more precise.
better language would have been,
Yeah.
could have been used.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I would personally find these to be the least of any tension.
Yeah, these,
In part because of, they're all unanimous votes.
well, what I'm saying
Things
is,
like ambulance receipts, so.
I don't think you were overstepping your bounds. I think there was certainly a bit of tension. Some of it could have been handled better out in the parking lot, or on the subcommittee level. But I listened to some of your deliberations on the articles, and you convinced me to change my vote on what would have come to us. I was gonna vote one way, and I listened to you. I thought you had cogent arguments, so. Thanks for serving again. I'm glad you do it. I don't want to do it.
Me neither. All right, so we're gonna move on to the reason we're all here. I'm gonna read how we're gonna go about doing this, answer any logistical questions, and then we will move forward with nominations. So, if you're interested in making a nomination, please raise your hand when I ask you to. I'll call on you. Please state your name, the name of the person you wish to nominate, and the reason why you would like to nominate them for chair. You are free to nominate yourself. I found that out this morning. I'll then ask the individual if they wish to accept the nomination. The individual has to accept the nomination for them to be nominated. Assuming they accept, I'll look for a motion and a second, followed by a roll call vote, and that will make the candidate a candidate for chair, a nominee. I will then ask again if anyone is interested in making a nomination. If there is, we'll follow the same process until everybody has nominated everybody that they want to nominate. If there's no other candidates, move forward with just voting that individual as chair. So if there's more than one nominee, there will be a discussion about the 2 candidates, 3 candidates. I'll then do a roll call vote where you will state the name of your preferred nominee for chair. I will now entertain a motion to open the nominations.
So
So,
moved.
second.
I'm also taking minutes, so we're all gonna be a little patient with Molly.
I'll help you with the minutes, Molly.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone interested in making a nomination for FinCom chair? Okay, I'm gonna go around the room. Yes, George Moran.
I'd like to nominate Chris Pareda for chair. On the basis that his prior service and guidance was insightful and fruitful and he provided good leadership in his capacity as vice chair and also as a mentor to me.
Mr. Prater, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
I would entertain a motion to make Chris Pareda a nominee for FinCom chair.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
And I'm just gonna do a voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Is there anyone else who would like to make a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Phil Bruce for chair. Phil's been on FinCom for 5, 6 maybe years. I think he's got a balanced approach and has had good experience and exposure in the role and functions similarly in his professional life.
Mr. Bruce, do you accept the nomination?
That was a yes?
Yes.
Sorry.
I will entertain a motion to make Bill Bruce a nominee for chair of the FinCom.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Alex. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Is there anyone else who would like to make a nomination for chair? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so I'm going to open the floor to discussion. We have 2 nominees, Bill Bruce and Chris Pareda. Obviously, we're all professionals and adults, so I would just say, doesn't need to be said, but please keep the conversation respectful to everybody in the room. Chris.
All right, so let me start. First of all, I'm honored that you think I'm competent to do the job. Secondly, it's no secret to a lot of you that
Excuse me,
as
Chris, can
recently
you
as
pull the
last-
microphone closer to you?
As recently as last month, I was ambivalent about doing the job. So I think I owe you an explanation of why I changed my mind. So I've heard the rumblings that the moderator has referred to. And frankly, nobody has approached me. George had taken himself out of consideration a long time ago. So all the rumblings about we need to change of leadership so we don't make the same mistakes this year as we did last year. And I don't know what mistakes that might be, but nobody has approached me directly. So this is all hearsay. So since George had already taken himself out of the consideration, I logically concluded that those remarks were directed toward me. The only people I've heard from town hall on the subject actually encouraged me to run for chair. So I thought to myself, you know what? It seems to me, rightly or wrongly, that somebody outside of the Finance Commission is trying to orchestrate who the chair of the Finance Commission will be. Toward what end, I will not speculate, I don't know. But I do know this. If you take a look at last year's town meeting, I think this commission has a big perception problem. And as long as we're an open town meeting community, the community's perception of the finance commission is vitally important, because we need to maintain our function as an independent reviewer of anything that comes before town meeting. Last year, we had an article in town meeting that the FinCom recommended unanimously that town meeting approved, that got defeated. So we need to step back and say, we can't do the same thing over and over and over again and expect the same result. And I'm not sure that a change in leadership would affect that objective. We learned from what we did last year, and we move forward and we do things differently. I think it's vitally important that FinCom have an open and collaborative working relationship with everybody in town government, be they elected, appointed, or just a volunteer on serving on a board, commission, or committee. Whatever it is, we need to keep the lines of communication open, and I'm committed to doing that. We also need to make sure that the community is invested in the things that are coming up for a vote at town meeting. And we don't do that by keeping the community away from the inner workings of any proposal, and then all of a sudden presenting it at town meeting and say, okay, here it is. So that's all I have to say, and again, I'm honored that you would nominate me, and those are my reasons for changing my mind.
Thank you. Bill, would you like to say something?
Bill,
Yeah,
can you
sure.
pull the microphone?
I thought I'd just take a few minutes and talk a little bit about my leadership style and how I approach things, and kind of my vision as we move ahead into next year. And I think from a leadership perspective, you know, throughout any type of leadership I've done, whether it's at work, whether it's in Boy Scouts, whether it's leading other committees, you know, I kind of focus on three things initially when I take over any leadership role. One, meeting with everyone and understanding who they are, you know, what's important to them. So you can expect, if I haven't already met with you, that I will meet with you to understand what works, what doesn't work, what you would like to see change, and how we can collaborate and work together as we go into next year. I think that's a key tenet of any leader. I think second, the other thing I focus on is process. You know, there's always an opportunity for improvement of process in anything. And I think, you know, some of us that have been on here, whether it's a year or a few years, there's definitely an opportunity to improve on when information comes to us, how clear it is. And that requires working collaboratively with the committees, with the select board, and really meeting with them to make sure that we're getting information earlier. But also I think, you know, and this kind of ties to the third tenet, is making sure that as committee members, you grow and develop, right? You need to understand beyond just your committee. You need to broadly understand things. And it takes time. I've been on 5 years, and it takes a little while, especially for the 3 new people, to get a little bit under your belt and understand what's going on, and mentors will help and stuff with that. But sometimes things are too siloed. And I think that we can look at how information is delivered to us and take a different approach to how we're getting stuff sooner and getting educated earlier, and how we're all building that knowledge base. Because, you know, it doesn't take being in town for a long time or being on the committee for a while to be chair of this committee. It really takes being a strong leader, understanding the people around you and working collaboratively with everyone. And you're gonna agree and disagree with people, and that's all part of FinCom, and that's all part of what we are and how we have good debate in the town. So that's kind of how I approach things, and I think as we move ahead to next year, we definitely have some opportunities, especially based on what was discussed a little earlier, to work with the select board, understand where the pain points are, and work collaboratively more with them and some of the other commissions to understand them and where the pain points are. And I think you within your committees too, not just engaging in the spring with them, but how do we engage you in the fall in a different way? And how do we disseminate information from all of these different meetings that you all work, you all have lives, you know, how do we get that information without you having to attend 50 different meetings to the broader group so that you know what's going on? So I think, you know, for 5 years I've sat on this commission, and for 5 years, what I just told you is the same thing that's been occurring for 5 years, which is we get stuff last minute, there's a lack of communication, and there's a lack of broader collaboration and transparency. And so, you know, what I would just leave you with is that's where my focus is, and I would welcome, if selected as chair, feedback at any point in time over the course of the year as to whether doing a good job, bad job, and where we can improve. And thank you for the nomination. And that's about it.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak about either of the nominees?
I got a question I'd like to ask each of them. Can you share with us your thoughts on the differences, if there are any, on your contribution to the committee as a chairperson or as a non-chairperson?
You mean in terms of how I would?
Yeah. How you see yourself contributing overall? Is there a distinction between the two positions?
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry.
No, I'm just, you're asking for the difference between the two
How they
nominees?
would, what they believe the difference is. if
Okay,
any.
I'm following, thank you.
Don't let her call us. Sorry. Forgot.
Mr. Prada?
All right, so as either a chair or vice chair, there's a lot more opportunity to work with the town administrators than there is just a FinCom member. So I think it's vitally important that as a vice chair or a chair, that the information going back and forth between either Stephanie or Chris Coleman or Molly, or even any of the department heads, sure, it needs to flow through to the FinCom members, but there's a lot more back and forth there, and that's where a lesson that I've learned, and I wouldn't repeat again, is you can't have enough communication. You always want to make sure that everybody, anything you say isn't necessarily interpreted the way you intended it. So you got to make sure that everybody's on board with the information you have and the information you don't have, and that's the biggest difference that I saw between just being a regular member and being part of the vice chair or chair.
And just building on that, I think as the chair, you're the facilitator and the delegator as well, right? Like in any leadership role. So how do you, to Chris's point, gather all the information and then use that to facilitate the meetings, to facilitate discussion, and facilitate collaboration, you know, outside of FinCom as well as within FinCom. So I think that's a difference with being a leader of the group versus just a member of the group.
And I forgot to mention the administrative assistant's position. Chair and vice chair obviously work well, a lot more with the administrative assistant. We either be it Jane when I first came, or Victoria last couple of years, whoever it's going to be in the future. So that's another big difference. That normally the members don't work or don't communicate that much with the assistant.
Thank you.
Any additional comments before we move on to the vote? Seeing none, I am going to read your name, and if you could please state the name of the candidate that you would prefer to be chair, that would be fantastic. Bill Bruce?
Question asked, question answered. Bill Bruce.
Yeah, there. John Kerry is absent. Susan Flanagan?
Bill Bruce.
Seth Frederickson?
Bill Bruce?
Michael Gay?
Bill Bruce.
George Hertz?
Chris Pareda.
Caitlin Druzak? George Lehan?
Bill Bruce.
Christopher Marks?
Bill Bruce.
George Maroon?
Chris Britton.
Christina Pachequis?
Chris Breda.
Chris Pareda?
Chris Parita.
Mike Powers?
Bill Bruce.
Ryan Sturma?
Can I ask what the count is?
Sure. 7 for Mr. Bruce, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Mr. Pareda, with 2 left to go.
I mean, this is the last guy I knew.
No, Alexander Yale's next.
All right, well, yeah, I'd let that person go first. They have more information. I want to be deciding. You can do that.
You can abstain if you don't feel that you can make a vote.
I just don't want to be the deciding vote, so I'll go to Pareda.
Abstention might be the.
Well, that's what I kind of wanted to do.
But that's a deciding vote.
Yeah, you can, it's up to you what you wanna vote. If you wanna
Regardless,
abstain,
it's like-
abstain. If you don't feel comfortable, you can abstain, but nobody here should tell you who to vote for. If you feel comfortable, if you don't feel comfortable, abstaining would be the solution. Because that pulls you out so that you don't have to pick either candidate, but nobody should tell you who to vote
But that's also a deciding vote.
for. Oh, abstaining?
Yeah. With
Yeah.
the count.
How does that?
7-5.
Because
Vote
of
of the old.
7-5.
It would be 7-7.
7-6.
7-6.
7-6, so it doesn't make a difference.
Okay, yes. Doesn't matter.
So no
Nobody,
matters.
Again, I just think you should vote how you want to, and if you don't feel comfortable, don't let anybody push you.
Welcome to FinCom.
We were just, I mean, it's just all the beginning of the talk, it's like hyperbole, like it's very high level, there was like no detail said, so like I have a tough, time saying like, oh, there's actually a substantive like argument to be made for one or the other, it's like kind of leadership skills instead of like how it's gonna impact the town. I don't wanna go back and ask any further questions, but again, it's 7-5, again, I don't wanna sway one way or the other, I'm gonna go Pareto for 7-6, and I'll
Okay.
pass it to Alex.
Mr. Yale?
Bill Bruce.
So it is a majority decision. That is actual language I'm supposed to say.
What would have happened if you were if
You know, don't even get me there, okay?
Yeah.
Doing the best I can.
So you,
Then again, it does not go to me, we would resume discussion. But with that, let the record show that Bill Bruce received 8 votes, Mr. Pareda received 6 votes. 8 votes is the majority, and so Mr. Bruce is now the chair of the Finance and Warrant Commission, and at this point, I am delighted to hand the meeting over to you. Do you have a copy of the agenda?
No, I do not.
Okay, you're not doing great, but.
You like paper?
And it has minutes on the back, so I need to
Start bringing
that.
my iPad.
Molly, we want to thank both people for that.
Yes.
Sure, Jen,
I'm gonna give it to Mr. Bruce.
Okay, thank you.
Here's a better one. Proof to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Clean.
I'm not sure if he wants to thank himself, but on behalf of the committee, I think it's a good thing to thank both people for stepping up and for their service, because at the social, if you're anybody who was there remembers, nobody wanted to touch this job at the 10-foot pole. And I think everybody that didn't want to touch it is very smart. So good luck to the people who are leading it.
Well, and thank you to George for leading us the last 2 years as well. I mean, it's a lot of work, know what goes into it, appreciate your service and everything you've done to lead us this way along with Chris the last 2 years, and excited that the two of you are still part of this group and working with us moving forward. So thank you for both. I don't have any updates at this point.
That's great.
Do we have any other business that we should?
I have no business to address.
I have a question. You mentioned process and kind of looking at how we can improve. One of the pain points last year and the years past has been, we don't get materials until like 5 minutes before a meeting. So how can we really do what we're supposed to do if we can't review the materials before? Is there any way we can send out like a memo to the boards and tell them we need materials 48 hours before? Or we cannot discuss it until the following meeting?
Here, here.
Kind of draw a line.
I think that's a fair request that I would agree with. I don't know what the protocols are, but I definitely, that's part of my conversation as I, over the next few weeks and months or so, meet with some of these boards, is we can't get stuff at 5 o'clock and be expected to review it by 7.
Yeah.
So how do we better, I mean, that's part of the collaboration, you know, how do we work better together, and you as a group need to have that information in order to really, you shouldn't, it makes our meetings go longer if you're sitting there in the meeting trying to review it and understand what's going on. So I hear you, and I'll definitely bring that up, and I'll have to loop back in our first meeting on what we can do to address it.
If I may, that also goes to the public's perception of our role. If we're not getting the material until the meeting, then how can they think that we're giving that material a thorough review? So it looks like we're just rubber stamping what the proponent wants.
And another thing.
I actually do have another thing. So one of the things that we've repeatedly asked for is them to, or whoever comes to us with their budgets, is to break out the different line items, and they still are commingling them, which makes it really challenging to vote on those particular items.
Write it all down. Anything else?
Can I ask a procedural question? Probably for George Hertz, because he probably knows. How does the assistant chair get elected or appointed?
It's appointed by the chair, so the chair can choose or not choose to appoint a vice chair.
And nothing need to do that tonight. So, no, that's,
Can also be done at any time.
I have another different subject. I'm not sure, Bill, that you're aware that we produced an onboarding document last year. So I'd be happy to mentor Susan and Ryan and Chris and go over that onboarding document.
That'd be great. Yeah, that was a great onboarding document, and I know you had, I did it too, and you reviewed that Victoria worked with you on, which is great because it didn't exist 5 years ago.
No, and I have to credit George for the idea anyway, and then Victoria and I put it together.
No, I think that would be great, especially in the absence of an administrative assistant.
I think.
when do we expect, when do we get to expect somebody who wants the job full time?
I would, my goal would be to have somebody for the September meeting, to have somebody start in September.
Could somebody just quickly give an overview of sort of the timing, like what's next? When we next expect to meet, and then my understanding too is that we are assigned different like subject matter subcommittees, and when does that happen?
Yeah, sure. So meetings will start up again in the fall in September. And typically in the fall, we have one meeting a month if there's no fall town meeting. And then that, I mean, it could alter if there's a fall town meeting. And then, you know, usually the different committees come before us, start to give us an indication of things. And then in the spring, in January is when we start meeting, probably once every other week,
Okay.
building up to, you know, when we presented with the warrant article. We do decide on committees in the fall, so I'll send a note out to everyone, kind of asking, you know, what committees you have interest in. You know, probably be some of the dialogue when I meet with folks one-on-one too, start thinking about it, so that when we get into the fall, kind of know, working with the vice chair, who's gonna be on each committee and what the committees are, and you'll know well before this spring. And the onboarding document does a great job of laying out everything, and all the process as well.
Which we normally get over the summer.
Bill, going back to George's question, would you like to appoint the vice chair, or would you like to push that decision further?
I'll wait to appoint it and work through this meeting first. But I will announce it in the next.
Just for procedural, there's two people that came in after everyone had an introduction. Can we just do a quick go around for their benefit? Might be helpful.
Is everybody here with the last week?
Yeah. George Maroon, Mike Powers,
George Laham?
Christina Pedevich.
I don't have a name tag. Chris Marino.
George Hertz. Chris Marks.
Caitlin Jozak.
Alex Yale?
Seth Frederickson.
Susan Manning Kale.
Mike Gay.
Ryan Sturma.
Molly Fitzpatrick Key. I'm the assistant town administrator.
And I'm Jim O'Sullivan. I'm always looking for volunteers to serve in this committee, and if you have anybody in mind, it would be helpful. It's difficult to find people.
Are there open slots?
No, there aren't, but they do tend to open up in the middle of the day. Mike?
Jump some of the notes, Mike. Yeah.
Sorry, one more.
Yeah,
question. Last year, we had some meetings that were virtual, some that were in person. I just wanted to see if there was any guidance from the state on how this year would be, or if that's the decision of the chair.
I can just say to the legality of it, hybrid meetings or remote meetings are okay through March 2025. So there's the option to do it, and the discretion of how to hold the meetings with the chairs.
I would just advocate for flexibility, not only for us as members, but also for the public, because I do feel like we had more engagement and comments when we had virtual meetings.
And to that end, I would just do a shout out, because I meant to do it at the beginning, to Westwood Media Center. Thank you for recording this in every meeting.
Actually, I find just the opposite. I find that there's more, amongst the commission, there is more discussion and more substantive discussion when we're in person. Now, true, it's easier for the public to see the meeting live when it's online, right? But I haven't found any of the, not to put the public down, but the public comments that I saw last year and the year before online were not what I would call in-depth and probing.
I want to jump on what Chris is saying. I'm not sure if you can do this or not, so I'm just saying it with Molly and Jim here. I think pushing the public off until the end of the meeting is a poor decision, and I'm not criticizing anything, I'm just stating an opinion and I'm talking about the issue, so nobody take anything personal. It's insulting to the member, to the public, because they didn't volunteer to come and sit there for 3 hours. They wanted to come and speak on the topic. So if we talk about school buses, right after we're done with it, let the public comment if they have a comment on that. Having them wait till the end, you're basically saying, we're all tired, you're tired, we're not listening to what you're gonna say because we wanna just go home and we're pushing you off until the end. I don't think it's fair or right.
I do want to make a comment that was changed. So George, basically, we changed it after the meeting where some of the public came in, and we all felt that same sentiment. And so George decided that going forward, we would let the public speak after each section. So that was addressed and changed.
I missed the last one.
George, the 3-hour meeting.
I was upset to miss the 5-hour meeting.
I think we all felt that, by the way.
Yeah, it's just.
That was a real thing. Going into it, and I don't disagree, we had so much to get through, and the decision was made, but that was changed immediately.
Good job, George.
Thank you, George.
I would agree with Chris. I just want to point out, I think when we see the audience of folks who participate over Zoom, I don't think I've ever seen that constituent show up to a meeting and speak at a microphone. And so I think the comments tend to be more material and more substantive when they're in person. But that said, I do understand the need for flexibility. I mean, especially a lot of us are young families and times and travel and all that kind of stuff. So flexibility is great. I do think that when it's possible, the meetings in person lead to better discussions and more meaningful involvement from the town So I can see both sides of it.
I'll agree, and I think not every meeting is created equally. So there are some meetings that are, kind of informative to us and procedural on how, we should, consider our role, and, and Dottie comes in and does a phenomenal job. So some of those meetings that are more for our education, they may lend themselves a little bit more to online, but then there's, the substantive meetings, I couldn't agree more with Chris, coming together in person. We can all see each other, we can all engage, we can, civilly and balanced discuss the issues, I think a little bit more. I'll speak for myself, it is so hard for me to focus sometimes when you have family life spinning around you. When we come into the meeting place, you're there for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is.
5, 6.
5, 6, yeah. Not as bad as planning board, but.
Going through worse.
So I think the old business we have is approval of the minutes from the 5-hour 3:26 meeting.
They're quite the read.
Motion to approve previous meeting minutes?
Do I have a second?
You do second.
Discussion? Then just bring it to a vote.
All in favor, yeah.
Yep, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Oh,
Abstain, okay.
I have to abstain.
The new folks in Georgetown.
That's covered in the onboarding document.
And I participated remotely, so therefore I am voting from.
Chris, were you at that meeting?
I was at
I was like, I thought you did.
I remember that one.
That's the first thing.
Yes,
Minutes
And he
approved.
came back.
Minutes.
Late.
Do we have any public?
Wrong groups.
We do not.
What about your kids?
And then, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're gonna do a roll call vote.
You do a roll call.
We only do because I put it on the agenda, which was a copy and paste from the last one. Oh, the minutes? No. You don't have it.
Not yet, in person. Yeah. It's not a benefit.
Bill Bruce,
Yes?
Susan Flanagan,
Yes.
Seth Frederickson,
Yes.
Michael Gay,
Yes.
George Kurtz,
Yes.
Caitlin Druzak,
Yes.
George Leham,
Yes.
Christopher Marks,
Yes.
George Maroon,
Yes.
Christina Petrowitz, didn't get there,
You'll
yeah.
get it.
I'll get it. Chris Pareda,
Yes.
Mike Powers,
Yes.
Ryan Sturman.
You want that from Dr. Bill?
So adjourned. Yes, and Mr. Yale.
Yes.